Hi, Genki Call here with your Soulforge offerings for the week of March 20th, 2023. We have one thing in here that is exceptional, a few things that are okay, and I'm going to go over all of them right now. So we're going to start with the legendaries, starting off with Garnok. Garnok is an orc, and he gives a 50% mana start to all orcs. That is the only thing significant about this guy. He creates red and brown gems. He does summon. He's okay. Would I spend 800 diamonds on him or any of the legendaries in here? Absolutely not. But that's my personal preference. If you need one of these troops to get your power level up, I can totally understand spending the 800. But value-wise, none of these legendaries are going to be worth 800 diamonds. Anyway, next up we have Gog and Good. He is an either or and you don't get to choose. So he's going to do damage to one enemy and spend all my gold to boost the damage. So you lose all your gold. Or he's going to do damage to all enemies and gain 80 gold. Interesting. Plus get plus 20 gold on 4+ gem matches. I mean, I suppose he could be used for that, for getting some extra money if you have something that loops and gets lots of match 4s, but there are just many better ways to get some gold than that. Next up, we have King Bloodhammer. Haha, King Bloodhammer. I like this troop a lot. He does damage to the 2 strongest enemies, transforms all blue gems to doom skulls to boost the damage as well. And so you're going to get a boost. You're going to get all of that damage from the Doom Skull conversion. Super nice. Plus, you summon a Doomstorm when an enemy dies, and you've got the Undying, immune to poison, disease, lycanthropy, and deathmark. Next up, we have Baphomet. Baphomet. Now, this is an interesting troop. He does do double damage to burning enemies, and he does hit 3 enemies. They're random, but he will hit 3 times. If you are really limited in your troops, say like this week, where we don't have a lot in the world event that can do damage to multiple enemies, it is certainly useful for that. Plus, he does do triple skull damage versus burning enemies as well, so that is super nice. He also reflects 25% of skull damage, no skull damage reduction, but just depends on how you're running and how you want to apply things, but he is useful in the right situation. Again, not worth 800 diamonds in my opinion. So let's move on to the mythics. We've got Scotty, who is only really significant for one reason, and that is for her last trait. She freezes and mana burns the first 2 enemies, knocks them to the last position, and summons Queen Mab, who is much more useful than she is, in my opinion. But, she's okay. She's not really mythic quality at this point in the game. Maybe she used to be. The one thing that is significant about her is this snowstorm. Create an ice storm at the start of every turn. It is the only troop or class, there's no class either, that creates an ice storm at the start of every turn. This is the only way to get it, is through this 3rd trait. So in that way, she is significant. Next up, we have my favorite, Arachnaean Weaver. Now, I have long said that this is one of my favorite, most used mythics. Arachnaean Weaver rocks, and I did a tiny tutorial on Weaver. I'm going to put it at the end of this video. You'll be able to see it popping up in the last 15 seconds. So you can check out all the things. I have teams, my favorites to go with Arachnaean Weaver. I'm using it this week in the world event. I'll let you check it out there, but I'll just go over the basics here. Web all enemies. That means you reduce their magic to 0, and this number, the purple numbers on the cards, are what is affected by the magic. So if this drops down to 0, it's only going to do a few points of damage when I cast, except that you can't web Arachnaean Weaver. This is just an example. Also, you're going to do true damage to the last 2 enemies, and that's where this comes in. And then if an enemy dies, explode 15 gems, which means mana generation. But not only do you have the web, true damage, and the explode, the possible explode, you also have the most powerful summons in the game, a 75% chance to summon a web spinner when an enemy dies. The web spinner does triple skull damage to enemies that are webbed and or poisoned. So super, super good troop for a summons. Really, really significant, this guy, and it won't be back again for a very, very long time. Because we've just started a new mythic cycle. Look at everything we've got in this mythic cycle. There are 92 mythics left in this cycle. We get 4, I think, mythics every week. So Arachnaean Weaver's not going to be back in the Soulforge for a very, very long time. But on the same hand, you have to remember that the mythic that you want the most could come up next week. We have a huge base here for what is available coming up in the Soulforge, so keep that in mind. Think about what you want the most from your mythics and from your diamonds. Anyway, let's move on. Next we've got Enraged Kurundar is always here. We have Amarok. Amarok is actually really good. And some people may not agree with that, but you get him on a team with a lot of red mana on the board, like running with Magma Dragon that makes that red and brown storm that feeds this guy. It's really, you get a really good chance to devour. It's only a 10% base rate, but every red gem and every burning enemy gives you an additional 4% chance, and you create 9 red gems if the enemy dies. So if you actually devour it, you're going to get more red gems and you're going to end up looping very often. It's a really good devour option. It's not like High King Iron Gut where you are 100% going to devour at a certain point, but it is a pretty good devouring troop. Plus it has skull damage reduction by 50%, and it burns and stuns a random enemy when matching 4+ gems. Next up we have Mambasira. I like Mambasira, I do. But her range of damage is it's a really wide range of damage, and unless you hit her with the Empress or something to boost her magic, she's not going to be one-shotting the enemy team unless they're pretty low level. I'm thinking E12s at this point. Green allies gain 1 to all stats at the start of each turn. There are a few mythics in here that do this, like Scorpio does that for brown allies, and this can really help, and it will boost her. So every start of every turn, these numbers go up. Next up, we have... Wait, there were 4. Wait, hold on. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we've gone over all of the mythics. Now the weapons. There is one in here that I personally consider notable, and that is all the way at the bottom, the Bane of Gods. Now, you know me, you know I love the splody weapons. This thing explodes purple gems. Does it feed into itself? No, it does not. But it explodes purple gems, grants a random status effect, and does a summons. So it's not fantastic as far as the traits go, but it is one of the splody weapons that summons and does can do a status effect, and I love these. And to have something with different colors is always nice. I'm always looking for this kind of thing. So for me, this is something I have to have, and I already have it, of course, and you may too, because it just came into the game not too terribly long ago. There is another that's super, super significant right now, and that is the Doomed Crossbow. This is one of the awesome doomed weapons in the game. This is one that transforms blue gems to Doom Skulls. Any doomed weapon that transforms a gem to Doom Skulls is one that you're going to want if you like to use Doom Skulls, because they are the most powerful in my opinion, because you don't have to get them tempered. You don't have to level them in order for them to kill the enemy team. Sure, it's going to increase the damage to all enemies to level it, but just the Doom Skulls alone can take out the enemy team. So as far as the Doom Skull creating weapons go, this is a fantastic one, and I highly recommend getting this one. Let's see what else we have. I think the rest of these up there are fine. Didn't actually realize this was here till just now. The jack-o'-lantern is fun. I like the jack-o'-lantern. It inflicts, it's kind of like Essence of Evil, kind of. It inflicts 1 to 4 status effects on an enemy and explodes 4 gems of whatever mana color they use. It'll pick one if they use more than one. Um, it's not as good as Essence of Evil, of course, but it is something that you can use. Essence of Evil is only green, so if you can't use green, here's something that's purple and red that you can use if you like to use those status effects. Next up is Scythe McScytheface, because it's fun to say. Whee! Scythe McScytheface. This is one of the cheapo weapons. Choose a color, explode 4 gems of whatever color you choose, and deal damage to all enemies of that color. So, it could be really good for Guild Wars defense, perhaps. The mana cost is only 12, so, um, at the very least, it's a cheapo weapon for the kingdom, and you really don't want to get mana blocked on your, or not, sorry, you don't want to get weapon blocked on your kingdoms because it sucks rocks. You will not be able to get weapons from this kingdom again until we come back here. Hold on. Darn full phone. All right. And 75 diamonds is a nice cheap way to get weapons so you don't get weapon blocked here. Next up is the Sickle of Sin. This one does damage to an enemy boosted by Cinemirage specific allies, then creates a mix of red and purple gems for each Cinemirage ally. Good colors for Cinemirage. Do you ever use Cinemirage troops? Just a team of Cinemirage troops? Not very often, personally, anyway. So, not in love with this weapon, however, I must have all weapons because I'm never getting weapon blocked again if I can help it. Next up, we have 2 more of the cheapo weapons. We've got the Scythe of Sin that removes all red gems, deals damage to an enemy, boosted by the gems removed. You will not get any mana out of it, but you will deny it to your enemy. And if they are from Cinemirage or if the battle's in Cinemirage, you do deal double damage. Next up is the Keystone. This one, you gain a barrier. You bless yourself if you have it, this blessed right here. You'll get blessing on the first troop. Or not the first troop, you'll get blessing on your hero when you cast with it. So barrier, bless, life to whatever ally you choose, and then cleanse and enchant them. So it's a cheap weapon, and will you ever use it? You might? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. Last up we have Doomed Magi. This is one of the staves, and it's, there are other YouTubers that really love these weapons, and they can be very useful, but you have to be able to level them up, and now that we have the Orbs of Forging, that's a lot easier to do, but you still have to find those orbs to get them leveled up, or you have to wait for the Tower of Doom to come around and get some forge scrolls to do it. So there is that to keep in mind. Anyway, it creates brown gems and gives armor to all purple allies. Does it? Okay, at least it uses purple. And if the enemy has a doom, yada yada, the usual stuff. I don't have it leveled up, so I have no idea what the other traits are. And the Bane of Gods, which I already went over. Anyway, that is it for this week's Soulforge video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Highly recommend, if you're going to get a weapon, get the Doomed Crossbow. Bane of Gods, of course, is something I personally really love, and then Arachnaean Weaver as far as the mythics go, but also remember that we've just started a new mythic cycle. So anyway, please like and subscribe, right, we'll see you folks soon. Bye!